Welcome back, everybody. Today we'll be discussing my personal favorite system of the human body, the immune system. Specifically today, we are going to very briefly discuss the two different main parts of the immune system, the adaptive versus the innate immune system, and then the rest of the video will deal specifically with the innate immune system, the non-specific immune system. When discussing the immune system, obviously you have to discuss different ways that infections can actually occur and different way microorganisms can actually get into our bodies. So any opening in the body is a possible route for a bacteria or a virus to get into your body. So you have digestive system consuming bacteria, you have respiratory system like breathing in flu or cold virus, you have the urinary system where they can get into, once again, any opening of your body. The genitals also have openings, so that can be a cause for concern with STDs and any kind of break in the skin. And once they get in your body, some will be a localized infection, but if they manage to make it to your bloodstream, then it can spread obviously to any part of your body. Or there's a second circulatory system called the lymph system or lymphatic system, which has vessels that actually carry extra fluid around your body. So either way acts as a highway that once bacteria or a virus get into the lymphatic system or the circulatory system, it basically is a highway that can get to any other part of your body. The question is, why do we actually need an immune system? Because we are constantly under attack from invaders, both inside and outside. So you have examples of viruses such as HIV, flu, cold, measles, chickenpox, SARS. You have bacteria such as pneumonia, meningitis, tuberculosis. You have fungi such as yeast infections. You have protists such as amoebas, Lyme disease, and malaria. And cancer cells are abnormal cells, so they are an invader. So your immune system does have a role actually fighting cancer and killing those cells before they can grow into a tumor and cause actual damage. The question, though, is how does your immune system and your body actually recognize what is normal to you and what is abnormal to your body? And as we discussed with cells, the outside of those cells have markers all over them. And those markers that the body recognizes are what we call antigens. So antigens are these almost chemical name tags, these proteins and these carbohydrate chains on the outside of every cell that allows your body to recognize self versus non-self. And we did discuss this with red blood cells having that type A antigen, that type B antigen, and how our body can reject other blood types. That's exactly what's happening with the immune system. You can see that the antigens, it's almost like a little name tag, that the antigens on your own cell, let's say they're blue in this shape, so your body, when they see it and recognize it, they go, oh, this is my cell, I shouldn't kill it. However, if you look at the disease-causing virus and bacteria, they have a very different outside protein shell, very different proteins on the outside of their cell membrane, that when your immune cell goes near it and says, whoa, 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 this is not supposed to be here, this is not me, this needs to die. So it's these antigens that are these markers that allow your body to recognize self versus non-self. So if something is not self, your body assumes it needs to die. So that's why your body will reject other organs, is this idea of the antigens for you are specific to you. Anything that's not you needs to actually die. When looking at the immune system, we can classify the immune system into three different lines of defense. The first line, like any good battle, is just a physical barrier. So it's a broad external defense. The barrier's job is just to keep things out. So if you think about the biggest barrier for you, that would be your skin and mucous membranes. So that literally just creates a physical barrier, physical blockade to prevent any bacteria or any harmful viruses from getting in the first place. If they get in, then you have this non-specific patrol. So these broad internal defenses, these patrolling soldiers, which we call phagocytes. Phago means to consume, to eat. So you have these phagocytic white blood cells, which literally just go around and trying to look for those antigens that don't belong there. And if they recognize it, they just consume it and eat it and kill it before hopefully it develops into an actual full-blown infection. If somehow a virus or bacteria manages to avoid these phagocytic cells, then you have to call in the special forces, which is the third line, which is the specific or the acquired immune system. So these first two lines are there to prevent infection. This third line is, now that you're sick, how do we get you better? And that third line is what we call the adaptive immune system, which we'll discuss in further detail in the next video. So it's these elite trained units. So you have these lymphocytic white blood cells called these B cells and T cells, and the actual function of antibodies is this third line of after you get sick. As I mentioned, we can divide the immune system into two different parts, two different systems almost that work together to keep you from getting sick or to get you better after getting sick. You have the innate or the non-specific. Innate means just always present, always there. So this non-specific defense are the ones that are active prior to infection and respond rapidly. So they're the ones there to prevent you from actually getting sick and developing an illness. If they get past the innate system, then you have the adaptive or the specific immune system, which is a tailor-made immune response, which is the one that actually has that memory of previous infections, so you can't get sick from the same thing twice. So it's the combination of these two systems that work together that prevent you from getting sick, and if you get sick, they help you actually get better and hopefully not die. When comparing the innate versus adaptive, the innate you can see is responding rapidly, so within hours. The adaptive can actually take over a week to get started. It takes a while for it to kick in. That's why you're sick for a few days. The innate can only recognize very few things, but if it does recognize it, it can kill it. While the adaptive can recognize nearly every, or should hopefully recognize every single thing that you might ever come across in your entire lifetime. For the innate, if it gets infected again with the same exact bacteria, well, it's going to do exactly the same thing because that's all it can do. While the adaptive is much more rapid. So what might take a week the first time, well, now it already knows what it looks like, so it might only take a day the second time, and a much stronger immune response. So that's why you don't get sick from the same thing. That's why you have vaccines to create this memory adaptive immune response. And then you can see major components for the innate is barriers and phagocytes, and for the adaptive, it's these lymphocytes, these T cells and B cells we'll discuss later. Looking at some of the components, the innate has these physical barriers, these phagocytic cells, natural killer cells, which do exactly what they sound like. They have a really important job with cancer cells, and these complement chemical mediators, which we're not going to discuss. While the adaptive system has what we call T cells and B cells. And there is a crosstalk, so they actually, each cell can produce these chemical messengers called cytokines and chemokines. So these cells do actually talk together and can help each other out in terms of trying to keep you from getting sick or get you better. The rest of this video will deal with the innate immune system. So once again, looking at that first line of defense, that line that's going to prevent any infection in the first place. You have those physical barriers, so these non-specific defenses, these external barriers. Your skin and mucous membrane, that's your first defense, first line of defense. You have secretions and excretions. So sweat is salty, so that's going to dry out and prevent many bacteria from growing on your skin. You have stomach acid, which is a very low pH. Very few bacteria can survive in your stomach and make it past your stomach into the rest of your body. Tears have enzymes that actually will damage cell walls of bacteria. Your mucus will collect all that dust particles in those bacteria for you to then either blow them out or for you to swallow them and get destroyed by the stomach acid. And saliva has many enzymes and other things in it that will kill bacteria. So that's why when they say licking your wounds was an actual thing, because there is some antimicrobial purpose to that saliva that will prevent some infections from actually growing. And this is just looking at the lymph system, the lymphatic system. We're not going into much detail, but besides your actual circulatory system and your blood vessels, you do have a lesser taught, lesser known system of vessels called your lymphatic system, which you can see in the top right picture, the yellowish orangish color. Those are the lymphatic vessels, which are just carrying extra fluid. So as fluid seeps out of your blood, just naturally into your tissues, you do need to be able to collect that fluid back and actually move it around. So you have these other vessels, these lymphatic vessels, which are there to move the excess fluid around your body. Looking at that second line of defense, you have these patrolling white blood cells. So these are the ones that are going to attack invaders that manage to get past your first line of defense. And once again, they're recognizing specific antigens. So if they come near something that they recognize, they can say, oh, this doesn't belong here, let's kill it. Let's consume it, let's dissolve it, let's get rid of it. It shouldn't be in this body. So they recognize these surface name tags. And these patrolling white blood cells are what we call phagocytes. And specifically, these phagocytes that have a very important role in cleaning up dead cells and also getting rid of pathogens are these macrophages, which literally mean big eaters. Macro for big, phage for eating. So these macrophages will just go around your tissues and just munch, 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 eating all these dead cells, eating all these other bacteria that don't belong there. So their job is just to go around and eat. And you can see in the bottom right is a macrophage consuming these bacteria. The macrophage is the big blob, and then the bacteria are the small little yellowish things that are on the top left. So this macrophage is grabbing, consuming them, taking them in, and killing them. You can see here's another picture of a macrophage at the bottom that's eating a yeast cell. So literally, it's going to engulf it, and then once it engulfs it, it's going to combine it with some nasty enzymes that are physically going to break down and kill that bacteria or virus, and then it's going to expel the remnants. So their job is to go around and consume bacteria and consume viruses that they can recognize. Now, they can't recognize everything. That's one of their limitations, but they can recognize a lot of things that prevent you from getting sick. Another part of the innate immune system is inflammation. So when you get an injury, the question is, why does it actually swell? Well, when a cell gets injured, it sends signals out to, one, increase blood flow to that area, because if you increase blood flow, you're also increasing the amount of white blood cells that are going to that area. So you increase that blood flow, it brings more white blood cells to fight the infection, and also will bring more red blood cells and clotting factors to actually repair it. And the reason why there is a pain signal involved in that is if an area is damaged, your body will make it tender and more painful so you don't re-injure it. So it has nothing to do with the actual bacteria causing the pain. It has to do with just your body's own mechanism to prevent you from re-injuring that area. It causes it to be painful. So inflammation has a very important role in getting extra reinforcements to those injured areas to prevent, hopefully, that infection from taking hold. Then you have fever. Fever has an extremely important role in infection prevention and getting better. So fever is a systemic response. So it's when a local response is not actually enough. So it's a full body response, and it raises your body temperature, obviously. And these higher temperatures do have a role in defense. So if you have a fever, a normal low-grade fever, not like a dangerous fever, then a fever does have a role in defense. So if you are taking things to lower your fever from like 101, then you're actually doing harm to your body because you're preventing the defense mechanism from actually functioning. Because when you increase that temperature of your body, some bacteria can't grow as quickly. It actually, the other signals that are sent out when a fever is created actually cause macrophages to be hungrier and more active. So you're increasing the amount of munching and the amount of eating that's actually occurring. And the fever signals also speed up repair of tissues. So fevers do have a very important role in the innate system in preventing further infection, helping you actually get better. And then finally, you have these interferons, which interfere with viral replication. So if your cell gets infected with a virus and hijacked, your cell can actually recognize this and send out these chemical messengers to other cells saying, hey, 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 I just got taken over. Be careful, this is happening. So these interferons are this defense mechanism against viruses that they can send out and say, be careful, I'm hijacked. You need to watch out for these viruses that are now about to spread around. So it can prevent the spread of viruses to other neighboring cells.